Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline. It's just me today, as always, and I am talking this time out, trying to stop complaining and how well that's going, partying, passion, driving, sugar, sickness, and, TV, movies and games. I've kept it cryptic to try and draw you in. Check out the episode, see what I was actually talking about. Before we start, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Obviously, the one that we prefer you would do if you were, a lovely person, would be to share the podcast around. That's the big one. That's the one we like the most. Word of mouth is a fantastic thing, etc. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline. Hello. How you doing? Very much one of those days where I just had to press the button and get on with it. Not feeling it. I don't mean recording the podcast. I mean, I'm not feeling it. Like, I'm sitting here right now, I was like, last week, I was like, I should take my jumper off before I start recording. Am I sitting in my jumper right now? Am I thinking, should have taken it off? And do I feel like that is just the absolute epitome of everything? I am in a funk, and unfortunately, you are going to feel my pain. Not in that sort of sense. It's just as the podcast unfolds, you'll start to see and understand a few things here and there that will sort of make sense, and other things that potentially won't. But yeah, today has been a funky but chunky kind of day. But I feel it's deeper than all that. So I'll do the one thing I should have done beforehand, and I'm going to take this blinking jumper off. Like so. I'll hang it there for later. Now I'm going to adjust my hair. By the way, if anybody has taken my advice and has been emailing the podcast, and you are waiting for a response, I apologise. Either people have taken my advice and started emailing the podcast, or the podcast email address has ended up on some kind of spam list, and it's just being spammed multiple times a day with garbage messages. Or, I think the third option is that the way the information's coming through is either like encoded or whatever. I need to look further into it because, like I say, getting multiple emails a day. The email addresses look valid, but the message that comes through with it doesn't. It's just gobbledygook. So I will go and have a look. I'll see if I can actually get into the website and see what's going on. So if you are emailing, maybe drop us a line on the old socials and just say, bro, it's me. I sent you an email like you told me to. Sort my hair out now. All jobs that should have been done before pressing the record button. And I've just noticed that this mini calendar is on the wrong month. So while I'm sitting here, shooting the shit with you guys, because that's all this really is. And ultimately, it's just me delaying the inevitable, which is that I actually have to start a podcast. So let's get into it. I've had to stop complaining. About 20% of the audience has had a heart attack. I bet you're like, what does this mean? How will you go on? How will you live? The question is not easily. Reasoning, well. I came home from climbing one morning. Yeah, that in some way it feels like that, but I am very much aware that I get bogged down in the details when the details don't really matter as much. Basically, there was a point in time where I'd come home and my youngest daughter was chuntering away. This is awful, that's awful, the other's awful, this is terrible, why this, why that, why the other. There was a separate point in time where I was informed that my middle daughter had been given it all. What is this? Why is this happening right now? What is going on? What is the need for this? All this. And in both scenarios, the response has been steady on me, because it's been very much a situation where when you look at this, it's like they're just complaining. And I think that might be because that's what they think you're supposed to do. I complain. I complain a lot. 336 episodes of this podcast might agree. But it's part of me. It's part of who I am. It's however you want to look at it, all of that sort of stuff. So I was like, right, I'm going to make a change. I'm trying to make all these changes. I'm trying to live a better life and be a better person, be a better parent, and I have to lead by example, and so on. All of those buzzwords. And I can never remember what Christina P says in that special. It's like something like correcting generational trauma. So I've decided to be the person that stems the tide, that stops this generational thing, and I'm gonna make these changes. So I'm making a list. No, I'm not checking it twice. I'm just making a list, and I'm like, I need to stop this, I need to stop that, I need to stop the other. I come home from climbing the other day. Lion's like, how was climbing? I was like, I have nothing to say. And she was being like weird. It's like, why is it? And, it's like my drive home is sometimes eventful. My time at climbing is sometimes eventful. My experience with climbing itself is sometimes eventful. And all of those things generate me complaining about stuff. Oh, this happened and that happened. Oh, it was real noisy. No, it was real busy. And what are people doing at 6:30 in the morning? It's that. At one point in time, I said to my eldest, I was like, ultimately, because I was like, this should be illegal and that should be illegal and the other should be illegal. And then I realised, and I was like, ultimately, what I am saying to you is that anything that puts me out should be illegal. And we both had a jolly good chuckle about it. And I was saying, I've got nothing to say to you because, as the saying goes, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And honestly, I don't think I've got anything nice to say right now. So that was that. Later in the day, I said to, we were having a similar conversation, and I was like, here's my question. I was like, I haven't vented that, almost like that sort of complaining energy. I was like, where's it supposed to go? What do you do with it? I haven't got it out. And I kind of expected the response to be like, well, you just have to let it go. But I was like, yeah, I know what you mean. It's just there. And I was like saying, podcast is an outlet for me. I vent to you people like now, but I'm doing kind of a reverse vent. I'm talking about the fact that I've realised in a very short space of time that there are key significant things about my life that I need to change. Those key significant things about my life, as I said and was saying to her, I was like, these are core parts of me. These are core parts of my being. These are parts of the things that go to make up me as a person. That sort of thing of like a fat comedian. If the comedian loses weight, will they be funny anymore? An angry comedian, if they stop being angry, are they going to be funny? A fat chef. There's a lot of fat in this analogy. If I'm not complaining all the time, and I'm not venting all the time, and I'm not trying to correct the world from the injustice that I see all the time, then am I no longer me? And what is the thing outside? What's the version of me out the other side of that? I'll give you another thing, another sort of thing I was looking at today. A little while ago, I signed up to Arnold's Pump Club, and I'm gonna be brutally honest on this one. It is just an opportunity to sell advertisement. It's basically like, here's a piece of scientific evidence, here's some advertising, here's some more scientific evidence, all wrapped in an email. If you get the podcast is very similar. It's like a 10-minute podcast that they still manage to fit advertising into, sort of thing. But with certain things in life, you kind of accept, yes, I'm about to say I accept advertising. I accept some advertising when it comes to podcasting, because podcasting is largely free. So, if you go with the nothing in life is free kind of thing, you kind of see where I'm going with that. Reading a thing today about the 100%. Everyone goes on about giving 100% or, whatever. But what it said was, if you ask yourself right now, what area of your life you're not giving 100%, you'd probably be able to come up with the answer quite quickly. And I was a bit like, there's a couple of things recently that have taken a bit of a slip or a bit of a back step. So, I'm appreciating that. But, like we're talking about here, I am trying to improve certain things in certain areas. So you kind of expect something might take a bit of a slip or a dip or whatever. And then it gave some examples. And one of the examples it gave, I was like, yep, absolutely. That is absolutely the thing I am not giving 100% to. And then it went on to say, it was like, what you should do for the rest of the week, for this week, you should look at the thing that you're not giving 100% to and give 100% to it. And I was like, something, that's not the worst suggestion. Like, maybe I should look at that. When I started that, I'm sure the two things connected together. And now I've kind of lost my train of thought completely. I was saying about me not being me anymore, and who would I be the other side? And that brings me to, yeah. Now I can see where I was going. I can see where I was going. At least somebody can see where I was going. I can see where I was going, and I was saying, like, becoming. Ultimately, the whole thing is becoming a better person. You want to be a better person. I want to be a better parent. I want to be a better person for the people around me. I would say I want to be a better partner, employee, podcaster. I had an email today that was like, you could be better at this in the podcasting world. And I'm like, yes, and I'm sure you would like some money for that. And it's like, you are number 9 in this search. I was like, that's a very specific search. I was like, I don't believe a word you're saying, but I do believe you want money from me, so you can. So there are these different components on, like, I'm trying to focus on this, trying to do this better and that better and the other better. And I do think that a couple of things have taken a little bit of a slip, and I don't think you can do it all. So I'm a bit like, maybe it's okay that this thing has taken a bit of a slip, or that has taken a bit of a slip. Maybe it's okay that I'm not, giving this 100% if I've been giving this 40% all this time, and now I'm going to try and give this 100%. And I think a big part of I'm going to change. I honestly think that there are 2 things you have to accept at that point. Well, you make that decision, you make that commitment. I'm going to change. Number 1, you're not. There you go. Simple. Easy. It's almost a get out of jail free card. It's almost letting you off immediately before you start. You are not going to change. But that's where number 2 comes in. And number 2 is, you're not going to change straight away. And you're not going to get it right straight away. And if you've been doing something for 40 years, it's not going to change overnight. It's not going to change within a day. It's not going to change within a week or a month. It might not even change within a year. But if you get it wrong every time, and every time you get it wrong, you say, okay, I got it wrong. I'll hold my hands up on this one. I did it wrong. I got it wrong. But next time I'm going to get it right. Eventually, one of those next times, you will get it right. Prime example, one of the many things that I'm trying to correct for, I would say mostly it's my youngest daughter at the moment, but it's all of my children as well, because it will have a knock-on effect. I got the opportunity, not the opportunity because it's unfortunate. I ended up in a position where I had the opportunity to test the theory. And I panicked. And I was like, for fuck's sake, why? I was like, I'm already here. I'm already in this situation. Why? Why has this come up already? And I was like, this is a test. And I'm either going to pass or I'm going to fail. And I proper knuckled down, dug deep, set myself, and I went, right, here we go. And I got through it and I came out the other side. And do you know something? This is the worst bit of this. This is the absolute worst part of this. I felt so much better for it. There was a problem. There was a situation. I voiced my issue with the problem of the situation. And the other person voiced their problem, their situation. And I said, I was like, I am not dealing with this. I'm not happy about this. This is not something I'm dealing with. And there was like a pause or a whatever. And then it was revisited. And the other person was like, well, this is the situation from this. And that's that. And I was like, right, okay, well, I've said my bit before. I'm sticking to it. This is how I feel about this situation. So there. And that was it. It was resolved. And there was a part of me that was like trying to keep like the mood going. But also like, yay, I did it. So now I have to stop complaining about everything. I've given up so much in my life. So much. And these are the last little dregs. There was a point recently where I thought I was going to have to give up coffee. Because I gave up having sugar in my coffee. And then realised that coffee without the sugar just doesn't have any joy in it. I was like, what's the fucking point in drinking this? There's literally no use to me. Obviously there's the caffeine side of things, but, whatever. But I've stuck with it, and I'm still drinking coffee. Just not as much, because, it's not as fun. And it was my last vice. And now all I've got is like all my psychological vices. And now they're trying to take those from me. What am I going to be at the end of this? I'm going to start looking at, like, what are they? Like khakis. Is that a thing? What are those shoes? I want to say brogues, but they're like the smart ones. I mean, like the brown. Is it a loafer? Yeah. Get a nice checked shirt and a pullover. Start wearing glasses, even though at this point in time I don't need glasses, and really just let it go. Oh God. I have a tendency to look at a situation that is super high stress and think, how can we make this higher stress? How can we make this nigh on impossible to deal with? I don't know why. I've come to terms with the fact that I think in a previous life I was maybe a chaos demon. So, what I decided was, at a point in time where our lives were insanely busy, with a lot of stuff going on, and it being the holidays, and we had 4 kids to deal with, 4 kids was not enough. No, we needed 10 children. How can we achieve this? Well, on Friday, it was Halloween. So on Thursday, we had a Halloween party. Pretty sure my idea. That sounds like a thing. Pretty sure in most situations that are my idea, I have a handy little helper who comes along and says, that is dumb. Don't do that. Stop it. Unfortunately, every now and then, my handy little helper goes, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And I go, fuck, no. I didn't realise until much later in the process that Leanne was actually in her element. She spent days and actually weeks putting together this Halloween party. And honestly, there was a point I'd gone out. I took the girls, the smaller ones. I took the smaller girls to get some food, buy some donuts, have a good time, have a little trip out. And we came back and came in the house. My youngest daughter's like, oh my God, who's seen it? And I came in and the entire downstairs had been transformed. And I'm like, how have you achieved? Like, Leanne, my son, my eldest weren't here. How has she achieved this in the time that we've been gone? We've only been gone a couple of hours. Not even that. Like, this is insane. It looked awesome. She'd done a really good job. And it wasn't just that, like, she'd made all sorts of food items. She'd, like, handmade various things. She'd decorated. It was awesome. It was really good. My youngest daughter had a couple of friends that were coming. My son had a friend that was coming. My middle daughter had a friend that was coming. And even though my eldest wasn't here for the majority of it, I'd arranged for her to have a friend to come. So, yeah, they all had friends, all these kids. It was chaos. Now then, being the way I appear to be, I was like, how can I not be any part of this now that I've sort of kind of arranged it, whilst also doing nothing to help or arrange, like contacting 90% of the parents. And I realised that there was this amazing opportunity for me to designate myself as the person doing the food. What this meant was that I got to be out of the way, which I think we can all agree is probably for the best, and useful all at the same time. It was perfect. I barely saw any children. I could hear what was going on. There was games, there was music, there was laughter. There was an absolute riot. Said to Leanne at one point, I was like, I bet our neighbours will absolutely love the fact that they're away at the moment, because it was loud. Literally, before you know it, we were doing it for 2 hours. Before you know it, 2 hours, 40 minutes has gone, and it felt like we'd only just got everybody through the door. They're all having a good time, and then it's time to do the food. I'm like rattling through like pizzas and garlic bread, stuff in the air fryer, chips and stuff, and then I'm like, I'm making drinks for parents, drinks for myself, all sorts of stuff like that. The games are going on, all of this. They got all of the food and stuff done, went back to playing games, and then next thing, people knocking at the door, coming to pick up children. Children are gone, everybody leaves. And that was it. And I was like, I mean, as far as successful party / child entertainment / whatever is concerned, I think it kind of went okay. And it's like, yeah, it was good, all went well, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, cool. Like, nobody got hurt, nobody died, everybody had a good time. You don't know what happens when people leave a situation like that. You don't know if people walked away and they were like, fucking hell, that was awful. We had a series of messages, people sending messages, so-and-so really enjoyed it, I'm really pleased, really glad that they were invited, really glad they could come, and they've said they've had a really good time. And then a couple of people being like, no, seriously, they had a really good time, really enjoyed it. It's like, that's the point, that was the idea. I'm glad. So it did feel a little bit like walking away like a bandit, kind of like, so we arranged a thing, that happened, went off. I'm about to say this, touch wood, it's happened, it's been and gone, but touch wood without a hitch, and people enjoyed it, walked away, My eldest had a friend, and they could sort of sequester themselves in the other side of the house, and all the kids had friends, like I say, even my son. He had his little bestie here, and they had a good time and stuff. And it's like, okay, I think we did a thing, and it was kind of a normal sort of thing, and it went well. And yeah, us. It wasn't even us. It was just Leanne just doing her thing. There was a point where she said to me that she was really stressed out, and she just didn't think there was enough time, and she was trying to get too much stuff done, and she still had this to do, and she still had that to do, and she still had the other to do. And I turned and I was like, yes, but I've realised no matter how stressed you are at this moment in time, you are in your absolute element right now. And she was a bit sheepishly, a bit I was like, you are loving this, because it was all like, oh, let's make this, let's do this, let's plan a game. There was so much going on. We had all these games listed out. I think she got through a third of the games listed. All the kids went home with a little party, trick or treat party bag thing, chocked full of sweets. All our lot are there with all the sweets, and I'm looking at them like, you will still have the sweets you've got there by next Halloween. I guarantee it. Because I just don't get through them. Especially not this week. I'll come on to that. I have recently found myself losing passion. Well, as a 45-year-old man, it's bound to happen. No, not that sort of passion. That went years ago. It's one of those things. I think you guys can probably guess the things I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about podcasts, podcasting, listening to podcasts. It's a huge part of my life and my day and stuff. I probably, on like certain days, I probably get through 4 to 6 hours of podcasts. And on certain days, I record that kind of length. So, podcasting is a big part of my life. Computer games. That's right, ladies and gents. It might come as a surprise to you, but I like the odd computer game. TV, movies. And yeah, these are the things these are my downtime activities. However, going back to how I started this bit, I do feel I've been losing a little bit of passion recently. Starting with podcasts. I was about to say I'll keep this vague. I will keep it vague because I don't want to get into too much of the details, the minutiae. However, I will say this. Probably won't take much to work out who I'm referring to. So, I have podcast favourites. Those are the people that I often save till last. I have a number one podcast. It's my absolute favourite. A more recent podcast, I would say. Two of my, at the time I picked it up, favourite comedians. I listened to another podcast with another of my favourite comedians. And recently I've worked my way through an entire podcast from beginning to the one I'm listening to today is from this week. And it started in 2020. And I've worked my way through that entire podcast up to current. That is... let's go with sports science and leave it there. And then I have a series of others that I dip in and out. I don't download every episode because I'm not interested in the guest of every episode. Then I've got ones where I've downloaded every episode and listened to every episode, but it's not my absolute top. I've got one where I've been listening to it to actors who are on the same show. I very much enjoy that one. It's very good. And then there are the others. And the others are ones that I've picked up that were originally very good and a great concept, but have gone through a bit of a transformation and not for the best, shall we say. So, let's break it down. I'm sad that I've got to the end of this, the sports science one I've been listening to, because I've listened to 5 years worth of it in the last few months. So it's been a bit of a staple for me. Like every other podcast I listened to was one of these, and I've just churned through them, and I've found it very enjoyable, and I've learned a fair amount, and some of it I already knew. And there you go. It's sad to lose one. The one I was listening to today, they were apologising and saying, we've not really been doing it because we're busy. It's like, yeah, everybody's fucking busy, mate. So, there's that. To get one out of the way, I picked up a podcast from its first episode because I was very interested in the format and the guest. And every subsequent guest that came along after that, I was like, yep, absolutely, great format, and I love the guest. That lasted about a year. And basically what happened at the end of that year was they exhausted all the guests you would want to listen to. They'd slightly changed the format so it wasn't the original format. And then it just turned into this entity that's nothing like it used to be. And the guests are nowhere near as good as they used to be. And I started listening to an episode the other day. This is the number one podcast that if I had to drop a podcast, I would drop this one. And I'd actually been considering maybe I'll drop this one anyway. I'm not in a position where I have to, but there was a point I was, and I was like, I think I'll drop that one if I need to. Recently, I've been like, I think I can let this podcast go, and I don't think I'm going to lose anything from not listening to it. And I put an episode on the other day, and it was like, oh, today's guest was a guest on a live event. You may have heard of them from that live event where they were a guest contestant in a competition. And I went, I think we're done here. At which point I stopped listening to that episode and went, yeah, we're done. That one's probably gone, I think, for me. I'm a bit like, I don't think I need this one in my life anymore. Had a podcast that I listen to on and off where they have just started repeating old episodes, and you start listening to it and you're like, when was this recorded? And then you look in the description, it's like originally recorded in 2017, and you're like, well, then why the fuck am I listening to it now? Because I probably listened to it in 2017. So that one got sort of dropped for now. I'm kind of hoping that it picks back up. Let's get into some of the bigger boys. One of the podcasts I've been listening to on a regular basis, it was fine. I prefer both hosts in other things, either other podcasts or other media formats. So I was a bit like, I'll give it a go. And it was fine. As a podcast, it got cancelled, which I didn't even know was really a thing. I don't think they knew was really a thing. And they were like, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to do something else. And I was like, okay, then I'm probably done here. So there's that one. So, the big boys. One of the big boys, haven't seen hide nor hair of for months. Don't know why. Don't know the reasoning. Just there hasn't been any. That was my absolute number one favourite for years. Haven't seen hide nor hair of it in months. And that's kind of that. I will use names for this one because this one is now in the past tense. I listened to the last few episodes of the W2AF podcast, Mark Maron's podcast. That is now done. It's over. It's gone. One that I would dip in and out depending on the guest. And I generally enjoyed when he would talk to the guests. I was never a fan of his bits. And his format was quite generic in the sense of you knew that certain subjects were going to come up at least once, if not multiple times. I'll let you work out which ones. That one's gone. I listened to one when the guest is good, but listened to one recently where I was like, you've had this person on about 10 times at this point. I am surprised you can get anything out of a podcast at this point. And it was a real kind of like, not a chore, but it was like, I don't really know what we're gaining here. We've heard pretty much everything this person has to say. And admittedly, they did manage to find something to talk about, but it was a bit like, oh, okay. I'm just delaying the inevitable. Okay, here we go. One of the podcasts that I've stuck with since, I can't say the beginning, but we're talking probably 10 years. The host recently made what I would consider to be a very bad choice. Rather than holding their hands up and saying, it was probably a terrible choice and I regret what I did, has decided to turn on everyone else and make it their fault. No, it was everyone else's fault. Everyone else is having a go at me for the bad choice I made in life. And it's like, nah, mate, take your lumps. You took the big bag of cash. Now it's time to take your lumps. And if you don't, it's a real bad look. And ever since then, it's been a little along the lines of, I don't know how comfortable I feel about this. And I really want to sort of let it go, but I can't. And I listened to an episode today and it turns out they can't let it go either. And they are doing absolutely nothing to own up to what they did. So it's a little bit like, I don't know how comfortable I feel with this one anymore. And finally, I have this podcast. It's my absolute favourite. Or at least it was. What feels like a really long time ago when the two hosts actually hosted it together. But they're both too busy to host it together. So now they host it with other people. And they're not as good on their own. One of them does their own podcast and interviews people all the time. So they're kind of used to it and you kind of know what you're getting. But you're essentially just getting one of their podcasts. So why is it on this brand? And the other, I would say, is not good on their own. They need another person. And what has the opportunity to be a great podcast and a great interview always falls down because it's that person. I believe one of the reasons said person has not been around so much is for the same reason that the previous podcast host has been having issues recently. So you've got that to take into account. And you've got all this, I don't think they want to do it anymore. I don't think they want to do this anymore. I don't think they want to do stand-up. I don't think they want to do this. I think they want to do something else. And it's like, all right. So you're an arena comic who has made millions and millions and millions of dollars from telling jokes. And you don't want to do it anymore. Cool. Now, I know I've done a long, winding version of podcasts. And I did say a few other things. But I'm aware of time-wise. So, very quickly. I've been watching a TV series that I feel is really slow and it drags on and I'm like, ooh, get on with it. And I've just lost a bit of passion for stuff. Games I've been playing recently where I've been like, why have you made this choice or why have you done it this way? I'll go through a couple of the games I've been playing recently and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. When you just feel disappointed and you're like, really? I had this thing where I could have some tickets, free tickets to go to the cinema. I also had a thing which would have got me cheap tickets to go to the cinema. So, conversation starts. Oh, let's take, I'll take all of the children to the cinema, or we can all go as a family and actually have that first big family cinema trip. Oh, yeah, sounds great. It's a good idea. Okay. Well, we've got these free tickets. Cool. And I've got that thing that'll get us really cheap tickets. So, it's a perfect time to do it. It's a no-brainer. Let's do it. Okay. What's on at the cinema for us to go and see? As a family, in half term. Nothing. Sorry, what? Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing. There are no films to go and watch as a family in half term. Oh. Oh, okay, that seems strange. Does it not? Yeah. Yeah, it's real strange, but that is the case. So, there you go. There's more. There's so much more, but I don't want to get started. I've still got a long list of stuff to go through, and I want to get through it. So there is more. I could probably do a whole podcast where I sort of dive right into this as a subject, but that would be a separate thing, and I should probably move on. I had to drive for half an hour in one direction, half an hour in the other direction, there and back, 4 times in 2 days last week. My eldest daughter has a social life now, and it is murder on the fuel bill. No, I'm being I want to say facetious, but I don't think that's the right use. Because, I'm dumb as a box of frogs. So yeah, I had to do these 4 round trips. 2 round trips, 4 journeys. Day 1 started like this. I had to go and pick my daughter up. So off I go. Get there. Basically, you could not be much more on time. So much so that when I got there, they weren't there. And 20 seconds after I arrived, while I was parking the car, they got there. And I went, cool. And she basically stepped out of one car into our car, and away we went. And that was that. We drove back, and then it was party time. Excellent. Congratulations, you have completed 1 of 2 journeys. Fast forward to the next day, and away we go again. Okay, we need to be here at this time. Cool. Off we go. Hang on. I've done the maths wrong. It was 6 journeys. Because on day 1 it was there and back. On day 2 it was there and back, there and back. So, day 2. Out we go. Get there. We're going to be there on time. Going to do the drop off. Found the place fairly relatively easily, and boom, done. Drop off. Exchange some phone numbers. There we go. Problem solved. Saw some of the most expensive houses I've ever seen in my life. Realised that probably made a lot of sense. Was like, cool, okay. Away we go. Drove back. Was annoyed there were no suites in the car. Just want, when you just like, you drive and you're like, I just need one suite, one car suite to, make it all worthwhile. There weren't any. I was sad. Hours pass. And with the passage of time comes the passage of weather. Yes, sir, Bob. We got some awful weather here in ye old York. It was torrential rain, and I said, "Do you know the one thing I don't want to do this evening? I don't want to drive in torrential rain in the dark along the streets that I don't particularly like, because it's not my favourite journey as it is." Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with you. Crack on. I set off on my journey, and away I go. I got so far, and hit completely stood still traffic. Not slow moving, not stop start. Completely stood still traffic. Very quickly, cars are turning around. Cars are going left, right, and centre. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm following the sat nav, and I'm going straight. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to sit here because I need to be on the move. So, 2 things. 1, I'm going to follow these cars because I'm sure they know where they're going. And number 2, probably need to contact Leanne to let my eldest know I'm going to be late. Now, I thought that was the worst bit. It wasn't. The weather proceeded to get worse. The roads that I went from was a road to country road. You know, the kind that you can only get one car past? Yep. These roads are 60. It's dark and it's torrential rain. I was doing about 30 for a lot of it. Finally find my way back to said A road, and away I go. Now, by this point, the rain has decided, yeah, it's not raining enough, so we're going to kick this puppy up a notch. And it kicked it up a notch to the point where my windscreen wipers said, I'm sorry, bro, I'm doing my best, but I'm out. And the windscreen wipers could not keep up with the rain. And I went, I don't want to do this anymore. Because this is how people die. Just about managed to navigate my way there. Got there. I was like, I'm really sorry I'm late. There's obviously been a car crash. It's seeming quite bad for the sheer number of ambulances I've seen. But I'm here now and we're going to go back. So we get in the car. We drive back. And we get so far, stood still traffic. A bus comes the other way. Bus driver's got his window down. He's like signalling to roll the window down. I put the window down and he's like, there's been a fatality. You probably want to spin it round because you ain't getting that way for hours. I'm like, shit the bed. Right, okay, thank you very much. So I spin it round. And I'm like, let's look at the sat-nav real quick. Okay, it says this road will take us all the way over to the other side. We can get to the other side and take that main road back home. Same again. Country roads all the way. 30, 40, 50, 60. I'm doing 30. The sat-nav has this thing where it's like, I think you might have taken a wrong turn. So all I care about is getting you back to the road you were on in any way, shape or form. And I'm like, I don't want to be on that road. I want to be on that road there to get home. She is like, nah, we're going the wrong way. I need to get you back to the road we were on. So we had to negotiate with that and just do the best. And then eventually we get onto a road and she's like, fine. Go this way and go home if that's what you really want to do. I'm like, it is. It absolutely is. Finally made it home. Nobody died. Turned out the fatality wasn't a fatality. It was just somebody in a very bad way. And I believe they're in critical condition. But does come back to the point of that's how people have accidents. So, yeah. Awful. So remember I said it was Halloween. Remember how I said that, there was all these sweets and stuff. Now, little packets of sweets or little things like that, they don't really interest me. Like I say, when I'm driving the car and I'm like, ooh, I could really go for a sweet right now. Number of long journeys I've done where I've gone through like I drove to Edinburgh years ago and my daughter bought me some sweets and I put them in the car and they were absolute lifesavers. They just got me through both there and back journeys. I was like, you're an absolute angel. So little packets of sweets, they don't do it for me. Little chocolates, on the other hand, somebody had done I don't know which one it is, the celebrations or the one Heroes, is it? Whichever one it was. Somebody had done a big bucket with those in. I was like, ooh, I'll have a double decker, thank you. And I had it and it was horrible. I was like, I actually said this evening, I was like, I think I'm going to give up chocolate. Just completely. Chocolate is rubbish. It's so crap these days. It's just rubbish. So why waste those calories for something you're going to eat and go, it's not very nice? I honestly don't know what people think when they eat chocolate these days, because it's just not chocolate. And I believe that is the reason. I believe it isn't actually chocolate anymore. So there's me. I'm like, I'm sad about the shitty little chocolate things. I have no interest in any sweets. There was a marshmallow floating around at one point, and I was like, no, I'm probably good. There we go. Problem solved. I like at Halloween the back crisps. I don't know which shop sells them. Lan always brings home these like bags of back crisps, and she puts them out for the kids and stuff. But she saved me a bag. That's what I like. That's my jam. Pickled onion flavour. Oof, delicious. I was doing well. I was doing fine. I was coasting. I'm just like, yeah, boy, everything's good. Everything's groovy. Everything's great. What's this? Ooh, somebody, Lan, has made Oreo bats. There's a little Oreo biscuit that she has turned into a bat. It's got little eyes on it, little wings. I thought it was hilarious. And turned some jammy rings. No, not those. The biscuit into spiderweb jammy wings. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. Simple, elegant, but so great, so fun. And I do like an Oreo. And I do like a jam and cream ring. No, not that. I can have one. Yeah, I can have one. It's Halloween. I'm not eating sweets. I'm not even eating chocolate. The fucking chocolate's rubbish. I can have a biscuit, can't I? I can have a biscuit. Sure, I can have a biscuit. I ate all the biscuits in the world ever. No, that's not true. I had 3 Oreo biscuits. You know when they say that sugar is more powerful than cocaine? Holy fucking shitballs. I was like some kind of crack fiend. I had these biscuits, and somebody went into the basement, threw the big sugar switch from the off setting to well and truly on, and I'm like, so what you got for me? I was like some sort of drug addict. I'm like walking around the kitchen like, you got any more of them biscuits? Oh yeah, there's some here. Oh cool, thanks. You got any more of these? Yeah, there's some over there. Okay, cool. I think it was the next day. I was in the kitchen and I'm like moving stuff around on the side, and then a mini roll fell out of nowhere. And I was like, where did these mini rolls come from? Now, I am a sucker for a mini roll on any day of the week. But on a day when I'm jonesing for a fix, that mini roll disappeared, didn't it? Took one of its friends with it. I've had a bit of a bad time of things over the last few days. The sugar demon has hold of me. And do you know where I can get any sugar from? Just out of interest, asking for a friend, because I could really go for some right now. Yes, the sugar thing is real. I didn't really realize, like I say, you know, you have a sweet in the car, a mint, etc. But that's about it. You know, you're eating the best part, 200 grams of protein a day. There's not really room for, I'll have a sweet, or I'll have a biscuit. You know, it's just not there. There's just not the scope for it. Until you're like, well, I've had a lot of protein today, and I did all my working out and stuff, so I've not really got much going on in that realm, so I can have a biscuit, can't I? The answer is no. No, you can't. No biscuits for you. Talking to myself, by the way. Trying to convince myself. Have you got any biscuits? We had a Halloween party. I think I mentioned. My children were invited to another Halloween party. Now, I'll leave out some of the details. Some of the details are a little sketchy. I think it was a sympathy invite, but that's a whole other conversation that I don't necessarily need to go into. So, party, Monday. No, it's been cancelled. No, it hasn't been cancelled, it's been rearranged. Why? Sickness. I was like, that sounds good. Bit of sickness. Wonderful. Okay, well, is your child still coming to our party? Because, oh, yeah, they're fine. Gets to the day of our party. Sorry, they're not going to make it. They've picked up the sickness. Oh, sorry to hear that. That's a shame. Gets to the day of the rearranged party. Is your party still going on with, like, the fact that everyone was sick? Oh, no, that's all past now. Everything's fine. 3 of my children toddle off to said party. That was Friday. Me, my eldest, my middle daughter went off to do an activity Saturday morning. Went to climb. And then my middle daughter went off to do dance practice in the afternoon. And then it was home for a movie and some tea, possibly another movie. And then all the little guys go off to bed. Me and my eldest sat playing computer games, doing the sort of things that we do on an evening, watching stuff, playing computer games, all of that good stuff. And I said, what was that noise? Because if I didn't know better, it sounded like someone being sick. Well, I should have known better, shouldn't I? Because it wasn't somebody being sick. It was 2 people at the exact same time throwing up. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Why is everybody up? Everyone's been sick in the beds, been sick everywhere. One's been sick all over the bathroom. One's sick in the bed. The other one's sick in the bed. Oh, for fuck's sake. Right, okay. Battle stations. So that's that. From that point on, it was every 15 minutes. At one point, I throw out the observation, how is my youngest daughter still asleep at this point in time? Not only not throwing up, asleep. In and out, in and out, in and out from the bedroom. She is dead to the world. She is her father's daughter at the end of the day. However, that didn't last long because she decided to join the party by several hours later, joining in with the throwing up. Everybody was throwing up every 15 minutes. They were just on rotation. Some of them were out at the same time for the majority of the night. I am reliably informed, whilst I was sleeping, that it eventually dropped to every half an hour by 4 o'clock in the morning. And I think by like 6, 7 in the morning, they had sort of just about stopped. There's me, Leanne, and my eldest, like, keep them away from us. Now, Leanne, she was already in the danger zone. She was already in the thick of it. She had been exposed. She was lost to us. Me and my eldest are like, sucks to be you. We are currently unaffected by the bug, and we would like to keep it that way. So, going to catch you guys later. And me and my eldest just did a runner, and basically we just went out shopping. And that was kind of that really. Touch wood, again, I'll say it, touch wood. I've not heard that she's been unwell, and touch wood again. I have not shown any signs just yet, but there does seem to be some sort of 48-hour delay. You'll be pleased to hear. I'll be there next week going, I was really sick. Wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't mention how much weight I've put on recently. That's right. Weighed myself this morning. Second week in a row that I weighed myself before the run went. For fuck's sake, I hope I lose 2 pounds from this run. Went out for my run, came back, and not only did I not lose 2 pounds, I didn't lose anything at all. Not a jot. I have put on another pound. That's 6 weeks on the bounce at this point in time. Starting to really be concerned, because obviously we're now up to about 5 pounds. Because, so before you start correcting my maths, some of those weeks were like ounces put on rather than full pounds. But yeah, I think it's like 5 pounds on at this point. Now, admittedly, the starting point was a very low point. But I'm sure all the biscuits don't help. So, got to get rid of the biscuits. Entertainment-wise, a couple of bits and bobs. I've nearly, and by nearly, I mean 2 minutes short of finishing the first series of Tokyo Ghoul. Fantastic anime series. If you've never seen it and you have any remote interest in anime at all, absolutely give it a try. It's so good. It can sometimes give this weird illusion of being slow in places, but it's not. It's just so well done. So good. It's potentially like a last ditch of the last great animes. Sort of in that kind of Death Note, Full Metal Alchemist, Attack on Titan kind of area. But it's fantastic. I will move on to the second series. I'm pretty sure I tried the third series at one point and couldn't get on with it. But my intention is to attempt it again and just see. Me and my eldest watched an absolute banger of a movie. I got to watch Ghostbusters for the first time. I haven't seen Ghostbusters in years. It's very good. Some of the acting's not great. I will say that. But it was very good. Me and my eldest watched Sphere. Now I'm like, we're going to watch a horror movie. Lols. And then I was like, it's not a horror movie, it's a psychological thriller. It was within her age range, so I was like, there's no reason we can't watch this. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a firm favourite of mine. I really enjoy it as a film. I think it's got a lot of interesting elements. It kind of starts you on a path along that kind of sphere, event horizon, sunshine, etc. You could probably maybe put Interstellar in there if you wanted to, like that sort of thing. So I was like, it's, to me, I think it's sort of a valid film. We watched it. I believe she enjoyed it. I noticed all sorts watching it this time that I'd not really taken on. A couple of things. One, there's some really weird editing choices in that film that when I was watching it, I was like, I wonder if it's intentional. But I can't work out why. Like, it cuts away at certain points in the middle of, or like right towards the end of a sentence, but not at the end of a sentence. It's so weird. But one of the things I've noticed in things like when Queen Latifah is being attacked by the jellyfish, that literally nobody goes to help her. And the realization of who it is that's causing the jellyfish sort of thing. Spoilers if you haven't seen a film from 1996 yet. Lol. Computer game wise, I am struggling to get the energy to go back to Into the Radius. This was something that I was referring to earlier about losing passion in things. I have had a look this evening, in fact, and found that a lot of the mods have had an update. I'm guessing to work with the current version of the beta, which doesn't seem to be being turned off at any time soon. So I guess that's the version of the game that we have at this point in time. I also realised this evening that I have not updated it for a while, which I did this evening. So should get the latest version, which I believe has got some new weapons, maybe. I think it's probably time to jump back in. I just haven't been able to sort of generate the want or need or whatever. Instead, I have been playing Chronos: A New Dawn. Really been getting into it. However, it's caused some problems recently in the fact that it's just not letting up. It's not getting any easier. In fact, I would say it's probably getting harder. It started doing this thing now that the checkpoints and the save points are so far apart that when you die, you could have 20 minutes of gameplay to do over again. And anybody that sort of plays games a lot will know that if you've played something for 20 minutes and died, it will take you multiple attempts to get back up to that 20-minute mark. If you have to do it again, it's this weird phenomena with games. You rush it, you make the wrong shot, you make the wrong choice, and then you're dead 10 minutes in. So I've had a lot of that recently, and it's becoming a bit of a drain. A friend of mine who is also playing it at the same time, gave me some suggestions, and I followed those suggestions rightly or wrongly, and I got myself into a real pickle, and I had to go back a fair way to correct my error of judgment. So it's things like that I'm often like, I wish I didn't have to do this. I was talking about it today, and I was saying I do think this was probably a game that I'll probably never finish, because I think it's just going to be too hard, which is a real shame. I do think they could have had more scope for putting a difficulty setting. I really do think there'd have been more there for the more casual gamer, but I'm guessing that's not really what they were looking for. And me and my eldest have played a fair bit of DC. I thought she was going off it. I thought she'd lost interest. She was like, no, we just haven't had the time. I do want to play. I was like, okay, well then let's play. And we did a lot. And my current main character is super high level at this point. I think I'm like tier 6 out of 9. She managed to get her character up to tier 2, I believe. We've been doing all sorts of different like instances. We did an 8-man raid together. We did a 4-man. We've done a lot of duos and stuff. Personally, I'm really enjoying it. I can't really sort of express sort of the bonding experience to be able to play a game that I've been playing for 15 years on and off with one of my children. I'm very much enjoying it. One of my other, or a couple of my other children have given it a go. I haven't really stuck with it. One of them likes driving games more, and one of them likes a SpongeBob game more. So can't fault them for that. It's just, at this point in time, it's just not for them. But me and my eldest are trying to sort of co-opt people into playing with us, which we've had no luck with so far. But anyway, there we go. That is it. That is the podcast done for this week. Thank you for joining me, and I will catch you next time. So there you go. What do you think of that? Another one done, another one gone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Before you leave us, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Leave a comment where you can leave a comment. Check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button. I know the email button works because, I'm getting all sorts of spam messages or actual messages that are encrypted or something. So, do give it a try. And if you can't get through to us on the email, do try the social media. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
This is a Cookie Cat production.